Happy Monday, everybody. It's time for another Railside chat. Just finished shooting my weekly videos, and or I should say my daily videos, and just kind of got everything running on the layout, and I've just been enjoying watching my trains for a little bit. So figured now would be a good time to maybe have a chat with the community. Like I said last week, I kind of like discussing some of the things I'm enjoying or not enjoying on my layout with the community. So this is going to be my Monday tradition for a little while, at least until I can possibly figure out a live streaming structure. But a couple of things. If anybody checked out my review, I mentioned that I brought in an Atlas version 1 DCC ready -8, and man, I have been really impressed with it so far. I have super enjoyed it, and I still don't have my ESU system back, so at least for now it is going to be able to run on my layout. So it has a factory installed NCE decoder, and to be quite honest with you, I have a real difficult time getting them to function properly with the ESU system. I would be interested to hear back if anyone else has those issues, because I would think that they should function properly. I've tried messing with some of the Railcom stuff, and maybe when I get my ESU system back, they found something wrong with it, and maybe the few engines that I have that are running NCE decoders will go back to functioning properly. Like I found out in my my video last week about decoders and their polling capabilities, I definitely noticed that even in the Atlas engine, that NCE has a tendency to speed up downhill. So not just in the Kato motors, it definitely follows into the Atlas as well. However, I gotta say it's a nice quiet runner up to a moderate speed, so it will be a good, not necessarily road engine, but a good like intermediate freight type thing. I really hope that sometime this summer I can put together enough money to put together a shed. This hobby turned into a YouTube channel is starting to make it difficult for my family. I try to produce a lot of content, one because I want my channel to grow, and two because I really do enjoy it, but it requires some quiet time, and that kind of requires my family to disappear for that period of time. My layout is right in the family room, so it makes it difficult for them. So I really want to try to make everything easier on my wife. You know, she tries hard and really does a lot with our son. So hopefully sometime this summer I can get that man cave put together and we can start building a proper layout in a shed. But that requires a pretty hefty financial investment, so we'll see if I can make that happen or not. But that would be a really cool project. I could maybe reach out to the community and have people help me design the track. I could maybe do a community built layout where everybody contributes and then I put it together. That would be a neat thing to do. Looks like I have a stalled train here. Running into kind of a funny issue, that NCE right there, I don't have a programming track hooked up on this currently because I have my Digitracks installed. So the CN2122 is actually using address 3, and it seems to coincide with my 2715. Like if I adjust the throttle on the 2715, it seems to react on this CN. So odd why that's happening. It must be some sort of DCC error, but anyway, I decided this week I was going to bust out some of my older pieces of rolling stock that I haven't had out for a while. I've really been testing some of my new higher end stuff that I've ordered for myself personally, and I figured it'd be nice to hook up some of that with some of my my old cheapo $5 car, Concours and rail boxes and red caboose stuff, and just enjoy that. You don't need the super high-end stuff to have a really nice looking train and consist. So other thing I busted out is I got out my 2-bay covered hoppers. I love that micro train set. If you haven't watched my review, it's nothing but glowing. They're just fun, and I like having my Montana Rail Link pull those. It is a pretty common sight if you get online and kind of go look up some of the Montana Rail Link things. They kind of run a bunch of short lines, or used to before BNSF bought them out, but they'll still be kind of doing it. I really hope BNSF keeps the engines blue, kind of does a heritage type thing. I doubt it, but it's possible. But you'll see, GP35s and SD45s kind of all hooked up together willy-nilly. One or two of them out on just a random branch line pulling 5 or 6 grain cars. So that's kind of my version of it right there. I'm kind of struggling with those 2 engines, to be quite honest with you. I did quite a bit of testing with lock pilots in both of them and had decent luck. After I switched 2715, I put the new motor in it. I definitely wanted to get lock sound installed in both of them, and that GP40 has been rock solid and awesome, and the 2715's been a little iffy. Now, what I did when I installed both of those is I ended up finding 2 different sound files just so they had a little bit different sound. I think I might try to install the sound file out of 500 into 2715 to see if I can get rid of a little bit of the herky-jerkiness. I'm not sure if it's not working well with the decoder or if it was flashed improperly, but it seems like it's not as smooth as it should be. I talked about how the motor was grinding on the body a little bit. It also seems like the drivetrain's still a little bit loud, so there might be a little bit of contact there. If anybody's ran into that, it seems like when I had the lock pilot installed, it was a little bit wider, kind of held the frame open a little bit more, and kept the body from rubbing against the motor, and the lock sound decoder is just a little bit narrower. If anybody's ran into that, I might need to do a little bit more shaving on the body, but that kind of sucks to have to do. So curious if the community's ran into that at all. Another thing that I've been doing is lately I've been running a lot of sound locomotives. Also been bringing in a lot of Atlas stuff. I had such a bad time with some of my old Atlas equipment. Some people were a little bit upset that I give Atlas such negative marks all the time. So I figured it was my own due diligence to start bringing in some version 1 DCCs that are a little bit newer, or 6-axle engines, and test them out, as well as some of these newer new release stuff with lock sounds and lock pilots in them. So I'm gonna say that honestly I'm having better luck with some of these new releases, and they fixed a lot of the issues that they had with some of the old ones. Like handrails are nicely installed and stay relatively attached to the frame. I still have a couple of small issues there, but so much better than they used to be, where you like that swoosh GP30 that I had before I sold it, all you had to do was look at that thing wrong and the handrails would fall off. So far, other than the onesie twosies and, like I say, these 2 engines right here that are coming by having motors fail, the new releases, like post-COVID, have been really good, to be quite honest with you. But also just kind of busting out some Katos here and there. It's nice to have a change. I love my sound locomotives, but they can be a little finicky at times, and constantly messing with the sound and that type of stuff can be fun, but it also can be daunting. It's nice to just be able to throw a nice consist together. My 2 SD70 Max here got hundreds of hours of runtime on them, and they're just rock solid. Also, these Deep Rock, if you haven't seen my review on these things, they're awesome. I love this consist. There's one of them that I have that's a little bit finicky, but the other 15 are super awesome. And I got a review coming up this week on these BNSF 50-foot boxcars. Spoiler alert, they work great in every situation. Any situation I put them in, they just are awesome. So be sure to check that out Friday. It should be a semi-informative review, but mainly me just gushing about how much I like them. Also, I am looking at bringing in some new stuff here in the future. I would love feedback from the community if they would like to see anything. So don't have to be a subscriber or a patron or anything like that. Feel free to leave a comment below if there's an engine that you've seen that you'd like to review. I'm certainly looking for ideas. I mean, I can't do everything, but as finances, as money becomes available, I will certainly try to do so. Come the 15th, I've got some older Atlas engines that I'm just kind of putting up on the channel. Make an offer type situation if you would like to purchase them. I detail all the things I have going on with them and whatnot. I'm not looking to make a big amount of money, but I just need to make space for some new locomotives and rolling stock coming in. So be on the lookout for that. Come the 15th, I'll post a video with all that stuff, and as long as I'm not going backwards, I'll pretty much accept any offer that is out there. So please consider supporting the channel that way if you would like. And then I'm going to continue on Wednesdays for a little while doing my pulling power tests. This week we are going to look at running in consist. I have a theory that 2 engines is greater than the sum of its parts. So last week we determined that with TCS decoders installed, they could readily pull 7 cars up a hill. 8 was a struggle, but they could do it slowly. I'm hoping that my theory will turn out correct. It's something I have perceived for a while, that if you hook up 2 engines, it just seems like they could pull more than you would think. So now that I have a set of standardized cars, it's a little subjective when you just keep throwing rolling stock behind engines, because some cars weigh less than others, and it's hard to prove. Now that I have all the same car, they all weigh the same, they all have metal wheels, they're all up to snuff, I think that I'll probably see that these 2 engines can pull more combined than each engine individually. So that should be coming up this Wednesday. And then after that, I found an error with my first test last week, and I'm adding a parameter to my pulling test. So if I can explain it a little bit, if anybody is confused with my testing procedures, there's a couple things that you need to consider when you're talking about pulling power, and one of them is speed on the layout. As an engine, has speed, the momentum makes it easier to climb the hill, and I don't have an endless helix to pull, so I think that's an important thing to have. So essentially what I'm setting up is I'm going to have my pulling power tests do 3 categories, and the first one is I'm going to call OTT, which is 1 tie at a time, and it's going to be completely different for every engine, but it's difficult to set a CV value and say everybody has to be at that, or a speed value that's really low that everyone has to be at, because some engines simply can't run at 1 or 2 scale miles per hour. They just can't do it. And so the 1 tie at a time setting, and then that value in my chart when it becomes accessible to everyone. Currently my patrons have access to it. As it starts to fill out, the 1 tie at a time section is the slowest speed that I can get the engine to reliably run. And it is a little subjective, but I do my best to get it as low as I can and be as accurate as I can. And what that helps really test is I'm noticing that decoders without back EMF, really struggle to pull hills at that really slow speed. My next setting is going to be right around 20 scale miles per hour. Now, it's difficult to always hit the nail on the head, and the reason is every time you add a car, they tend to slow down a little bit. My layout isn't perfectly level. I have areas on it that tend to be uphill, and as you come around the bend on my layout here, it's about 2.5% grade. I have a spot towards the back over here that is, because of the way my layout ends up being, and it's got a little bit of a slant to it, it comes out to about 3%. So it's really difficult to pull over that. So I kind of got to play with the throttle setting a little bit. But again, I'm doing my best to keep them right around 20 scale miles per hour. I use my AccuTrack to measure that, and that gives the locomotive some momentum as they come into the hill, so that can kind of test that. And then I call it the stall speed. That is the point at which the engine, as it's coming up through the bend, tends to stall out, starts to spin out. Yeah, it might grab a little bit here or there, but for the most part, it's struggling to get up the hill, and it's just not going to make it. Again, a little bit subjective, because sometimes they can catch the wheel slip and then continue to going. But again, I'm going to do my best to be fair and accurate. I'm not trying to prove that one brand's better than the other. I just want the information out there, mainly because I know when I first started, I wanted to be able to pull, long trains, and I was sometimes a little bit unimpressed with the ability for some engines to pull. So hopefully it's good information and people will appreciate having it. So anyway, it's been a little bit, and I got some stuff off my chest. So I appreciate everybody stopping by. And again, please comment below if you have any engines that you would like to see reviewed. Excuse me. Please. I generally kind of bring in BNSF or NS. That's kind of my two things that I really like. If you'd like to see something else, please say it in that. So I want to see the new scale trains, GEVO and the CSX scheme or whatever, as well as rolling stock. There's a lot of new rolling stock coming out. It's honestly harder for me to want to invest in that stuff at this point in time. I really am in this for the engines, the locomotives. They're my favorite part. I've always been mechanical, and I love the big roar of engines, so they're kind of the thing that I love the most about the hobby. But rolling stock absolutely makes the entire consist a really cool thing, so I can't totally ignore it. So happy to look at some stuff. If you guys want to see that, let me know. I do have some money coming in through Patreon now, and all of that for the foreseeable future, that is going to go directly into reviews. So I'm going to buy rolling stock with that, and then resell that rolling stock back to the community to fund more reviews. So it's kind of a growing fund. So please, anybody that would be interested in buying something, let me know. I will try to pick it up first, review it, and then put it back out to the channel to resell, so we can continue to review things. So thanks for stopping by, everybody. I really appreciate it. Have a great week. I know I'm going to.